Tracking some other live events here going on again down at right below me here is protesters gathering outside some meetings that the governor is chairing today. You know, the meetings themselves are pretty dull. But it's this action here that has got our attention. Protesters showing up. Again, unclear exactly what the connection is, but we're keeping an eye on that to see if there's any sort of disruption there. Next to me is the continuing news conference about class action suits against federal agencies in the wake of Operation Metro Surge, and claimants here saying that their constitutional rights were violated either through assault or abuse or unlawful detention. And then the City Council right now, a number of things that they've been talking about, but a discussion now about an investment in a public safety training and wellness facility. So I believe we're going to take a listen in on the Minneapolis City Council right now in the midst of this discussion about whether these dollars should be invested there or should they go to other programs. Let's listen in.
Since we do have clarity that it is the administration's goal to bring this project forward back for consideration in front of this body, particularly with this site acquisition request that will likely have maybe some changes, but right now the most recent funding proposal tied to it was removing funding from ADA, so supporting our residents with mobility issues, and also traffic calming, so projects that actually make our streets safer and foster safety in that sense. So we're talking about defunding a number of priorities that actually uplift the well-being of our residents. So that funding proposal along with the site acquisition request will come before this body again. And it sounds like there will be some timeliness to this. I want to know the procedure on this because that's the piece that has not been clarified. So if this is the city attorneys, I don't know the clerks, but when it comes to which is the requirement in order to move forward this acquisition, you need to do bond reallocations, which Councilmember Chowdhury referenced. We did. The administration is looking to undo that. So what would that entail? Does that require a vote threshold from this council? Does it need to go before BET? Like, can someone outline those steps?
Mr. Clerk, do you know the answer to that question?
2 minutes and 15 seconds.
I'll be very quick, Mr. President, to Councilmember Wansley, and if the attorney wants to correct me, I would invite that. The use of indebted funds, bond funds, are both under state law and under city charter provisions, which would require that the use of available proceeds currently available from previous bonded projects go through the same process to issue a bond. What that means is that there are 2 votes required by 2 separate bodies under our charter. There's one by the council and one by the Board of Estimate and Taxation. In both cases, it requires a 2/3 vote for approval. So 2/3 vote approval of the council, 2/3 vote approval of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. So that would be the vote threshold procedural process that you asked about, Councilmember Wansley. I'll quickly see if I made a mistake with the attorney. I'm seeing that I did not.
So just to recap that in layman terms, there will be 9 votes needed amongst this body in order to approve the site acquisition and then to do the reallocated bonds, and then thank you.
I'm sorry, I need to correct that. There is not a 2/3 vote required for site acquisition. There is only the 2/3 vote required for the use of bond funding. So where it comes, so you'll notice there are different items packaged together. The funding piece, as long as financing or funding for the project requires bond funds, then that 2/3 application by the 2 different governing bodies within the city structure is required. The site acquisition is not subject to that vote threshold.
Thank you. Okay, so the administration can move forward with the site acquisition using another funding source if the bonds, let's say, were not approved by 2/3 of this body.
Through the president, if the funding source did not include bond funds, then yes, that would change the funding, the vote threshold required for passage. Because the current proposal in front of this body would use bond proceeds, then that vote threshold is in play.
Thank you. That offers greater clarity of what it actually means, or what the administration is likely considering as they're thinking about how to best repackage this same proposal in front of this body, either to get it across the finish line and with a different funding package. So this is great clarity. I didn't know much about the bonding process and what would be needed procedurally, so thank you.
Seeing no one else left in queue, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the referral of this item back to staff.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Nay.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
No.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Nay.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vital.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
No.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Nay.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Nay.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That item carries, and it will be referred back to staff, and that completes all.
All right, you're hearing some dissent there.
We'll take a
people
5-minute
at
recess.
the Minneapolis City Council meeting as they're voting, and they're sending it back to staff. This is the issue of a public safety training and wellness center in the city, which would be built kind of on the south side. It's sort of in the northwest corner of Crosstown and 35W to replace what is the city says is an outdated training and wellness facility on the north side of Minneapolis. But again, there's dissent over whether that money should be used for that. Is it being taken from other programs that are priorities for certain council members? Should that money be sent to other priorities for council members? But again, voting here to send back to staff, unclear exactly what the path is from here, but that is certainly something that we'll be keeping an eye on here.